Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and Harmonious World is an independent podcast inspired by a Quincy Jones quote, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." On Harmonious World, I chat with musicians and those with an interest in music to get them to share what they are good at. There are close to 300 episodes now, so please take a listen and see who else you might discover. This is all about helping you discover new music alongside me. This latest episode features an artist that I've wanted to get on the podcast for a couple of years. Misha Mullov-Abbado is really a great band leader. He's a bass player, a very well-established bass player, composer and arranger, but he's a band leader. And I've seen him in action live, working with other people. I saw him with Alice Zawadzki at the Watford Jazz Festival earlier in the year. And he's just an extraordinary communicator, collaborator, and it was a real joy to have a chat with him in person in the Barbican, and I apologise for the background sounds. Earlier in 2025, Misha released Effra on Ubuntu Music, and what you're listening to now is the Effra Parade. I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Misha Mullov-Abbado. Welcome to Harmonious World. I'm joined this time by Misha Mullov-Abbado, bass player, and who I saw a few weeks ago at Watford Jazz Junction with Alice Zawadzki.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me.
Hi. No, brilliant. And I want to talk to you specifically about, I want to talk about your musical background, but also about Effra, which came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
So, first of all, talk to me about where your music comes from, where your how you started off as a musician and as a bass player, because I think you're much more than just a bass player.
Sure, yeah. I actually came to the bass relatively late as a young musician, so yeah, there's a bit of a story there. So I've been surrounded by music my entire life. In fact, before I was born, really, as a kid of a violinist mum. So I've been lucky to just be surrounded by mainly classical music all through my childhood, and I don't think I've ever questioned. I don't ever remember a time where I thought, oh, I'm not going to play music. I'm not going to do music in some form. I started off the piano when I was 5, and then when I was 7. The school I started, they chose the French horn for me, and it's funny. I was in the pub after a gig the other day with a violinist colleague of mine who also revealed that she used to play the French horn because her school chose it for her. They thought that she stood a chance at making the right sound with it. So there was probably something similar with people, the head of music, thinking, oh, he might be all right, let's throw the horn at him.
Yeah.
So I played the horn as my sort of second instrument all the way through being a kid. I wasn't great, let's be honest. Although I got better over my teenage years as I started doing like junior RCM, Junior Royal College of Music, on a Saturday. And that was when I started to really, really enjoy playing music and just playing in orchestras. And I played the horn. The horn kind of started to become my first instrument. I feel like I learned so much about how music works, how classical music is written, how specifically orchestral music is written. And horn parts, people often refer to the horn as the sort of the backbone of the orchestra in some ways. And I feel like I got to experience a lot of how that music's written and put together. I haven't played the horn for about 10 years now, but I'll forever be really grateful for all those years I've got to spend playing classical music. During those years at Royal College, I also started having lessons in composing. And at first it was kind of just this exciting thing, like, oh, I get to try writing music and showing it to a teacher. That's fun. And then it kind of slowly became a thing where I could write music for other people at junior college to play. And it quickly became more my sort of specialty than anything else, really, writing music. And all of that is way before considering jazz or bass at all. The reason I started the bass was when I was 13, I was on holiday one year with my family, and I just picked up a bass guitar one day, and my sister played a bit of guitar, and she found this acoustic guitar and wrote a song, kind of a simple kind of song. She was about 10 years old at the time. And up until then, whenever I'd tried playing a guitar, I always found it really difficult. The strings are really close together. I'm quite a big guy and I've got big hands, so playing small fiddly things was never really my thing. And suddenly I got this electric bass that I could play, and I thought, okay, well, this is nice, this fits my hand. It's also pretty straightforward. I've only got to play one note at once, and I just found the feeling of being at the bottom of a group, a small group in that instance, so satisfying. And so that was really the birth of me and my sort of bass playing life. And then slowly over the years, that was just running along the side of all the other music I was doing. Started getting into jazz, playing in school jazz bands. And then it was at university around when I was 20, that was when I decided, okay, I want to do this properly. And that was the point where I thought, well, I'd better learn the double bass then. And at the time I thought the double bass would just be a thing on the side that I'd do a bit of, because if I'm going to be a jazz bass player, like an electric bass player, I should probably play a bit of double bass. And then what I didn't realise was that I'd soon grow so into the double bass that I prefer it a lot. It suits me a lot more than the electric bass. I still play a bit of electric bass now from time to time, but the double bass feels much more like mine. And so now it's what I do. Really.
Yeah, because actually, having seen you play double bass, and since I looked back on some of the albums that I've reviewed and realised that your bass was
nice.
On there. Yeah. And I can't imagine you playing bass guitar in the same way. So that's interesting, isn't it? That you found it sort of there were series of steps.
Yeah, exactly. I feel much more at ease with the double bass. I think quite early on, when I was still playing two, when I'd recently started the double bass, if I had gigs where I needed to switch from one to the other, I remember I'd find switching awkward in the sense, it's always a bit awkward to switch from one instrument to another mid-gig to different levels, but I mean, even sax players would say that can be switching between alto and tenor can be difficult. But I remember noticing how much harder I found the switch going from acoustic to electric than from electric to acoustic. And kind of saying something about what my hands more naturally want to sort of gravitate to.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And because I'm a great believer in you find your thing. You can do lots of stuff in music. You can compose and you can sing and you can do whatever, but you have to find the thing. And I mean, for me, it's baritone sax. I play alto and tenor and flute and clarinet and everything. Yeah. But when I get hold of baritone, I'm like, okay, I'm done. This is fine. This is me. So it's obviously the same for you with the bass.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I've thought something similar to this before, but if I just think about all the different musical things that happen in my life, everything kind of more or less sort of makes sense. You could sort of maybe predict it if you were to sort of find out everything else about me, my musical heritage or whatever. Everything's sort of like, oh yeah, the school would choose the horn for you, oh yeah, and then you get into composing, blah, blah, blah. But the bass is the one thing that sort of, I think sticks out as a sort of like, oh no, that's just what he likes.
Right, it found you almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there is also, so a lot of people ask me, have asked me over my whole life, would I ever want to get into conducting? For the obvious reason that my dad was a very successful conductor, and given how much I know orchestral music, how much I played orchestral music, I think people sort of have sort of wondered how I'd be as a conductor, given that I've sort of seemed to know my stuff. I know my way around an orchestral score and how orchestras work. And honestly, there's been a tiny bit of me that's always been tempted. I've done a little bit as a student, and I've always really enjoyed it. I think I probably would be quite competent. I also have experienced how much of a big, how can I say this properly? How much of a sort of big thing it can be for one's ego. Like I had to conduct something that I'd arranged a couple of years ago for 1 hour, just for a quick session that was like synced along to a video. So and I'd written it, and it just made sense for me in the moment. I'm just going to beat time, and having spent just 1 hour having all these faces glued to me for the whole time. It was really intense, and in a kind of pleasurable way. I was like, wow, I feel so seen by all these people. But that was for 1 hour, and I really kind of thought, like, wow, I'm not surprised that, my dad, for example, was actually quite a solitary kind of person, very not really a massive people person in relationships.
Yeah.
And then I found the bass, and through playing the bass and writing music, I've found what's my version of conducting, which is starting a band and band leading. And I think I'm a good band leader, and I stand at the back of the band and lead from the back rather than from the front, facing the musicians. And yeah, that's kind of my equivalent, really.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think there's a whole thing as well about when you are on stage, where you are on stage.
Yeah.
So, as a sax player, I tend to be kind of at the side.
Yeah.
And I quite like that, because you get that whole view of the band and the audience, and it's like you're just at the side and you can just,
Yeah, that's true. If you're at the end of the sax section, you're sort of, the baritone, the bass trombone tend to always be on the side rather than the rhythm section side, don't they?
Yeah.
And I also like sometimes being at the side, if it's the right-hand side, because of the way the bass
points.
I don't like being on the left-hand side.
Because you'd be pointing away.
Exactly, yeah. But I love always being in a position where I can see everything. So being at the back centre, the typical place for the bass, is great. I did do one thing with Symphonia Smith Square a year ago. There was this big project that I ran, and it was all playing all my music, and we had a rhythm section playing and an orchestra playing with us, and so I was sort of directing it, but I was at the front like a soloist would be, and it was quite awkward spatially in terms of how do I position myself, and I sort of made it work by just playing out to the audience like I'd normally do, and because I stand to the side of the instrument with my face pointing to the left, I guess, stage left, I would just sometimes turn my head and just sort of cue things.
Yeah.
And thankfully the rhythm section was with me, so it wasn't just me out the front.
Yeah.
But it definitely wasn't how I'd normally position myself.
No. Well, okay, that brings us nicely to Effra, and this is your it's not your debut album, is it, by any means? You've done
this is my 4th album with my band.
Yes, right. And it's very much so when I listen to it, there's something about South London musicians. So, because obviously Bill Lawrence is not a million miles away from where you are and stuff. There's something very orchestral. There's a real sort of composed thing going on. I don't know. It's a really nice thing. So, what inspired you to write this particular album?
So, honestly, every album I've released with my band is just the sort of documentation of the last few years of my life. So it's been all the music I've written for my band since I recorded my last previous one.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like the album's more just about this most recent period of my life, I guess, which has been characterized for me personally with feeling much more happy and secure in where I live and all my life choices. Like, it's the oldest piece. The repertoire on this album, the oldest repertoire, is from COVID, basically from the pandemic, which obviously involved staying at home so much.
Yeah.
My now wife moved in to that house with me at the start of the pandemic, and now we're married and have a kid. And two of the tracks in the album are sort of dedicated to her, and now indirectly to one of them to our kid as well. And so that's kind of what it's about. It's more just about my life in the last few years and how much I love living in London, and particularly in Brixton.
Yeah.
And the reason why it didn't come about as like I'm going to record an album and I'm going to call it Effra, right, what should I have on it? The reason why I called it Effra was I needed a title, and there's one of the tracks on the album is called the Effra Parade.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the name of a little road near where I live. And if that tune felt like a kind of title track, had the feeling of it, and so I thought, well, why don't I call the album something like the Effra Parade, and I thought just Effra.
Yeah, and that's, but I think it's, there is something about Brixton and how it operates as a little suburb, that it's very, very special.
Yeah.
And it's there's some amazing stuff that, creatively there's some amazing stuff that happens down there.
Yeah.
So,
hugely.
Something
it's
in
so
the water.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Effra is literally
Exactly.
about a river.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So, can you talk to me about your band? Because you've been with this group of musicians for quite some time.
Yeah, for ages and ages. Every time when we had a gig as part of the tour a few days ago, and one of the Liam, the pianist, he couldn't believe it when I introduced one of the songs, which doesn't even feel like that. It's not like even one of the original tunes I wrote for the band, and I said, I wrote this band 9 years ago. Like, 9 years? Yeah, I started the band in my first year of academy, doing the jazz course, which would make it 12 years old. And then throughout my second year, I sort of kept it going. I ended up performing with that band for my final recital, and that's what got me the record deal with Edition Records for my first album. Yeah. And then I recorded and released my first album, New Antonia, and then at the start of 2016, so shortly after I'd finished the album tour for that album, I changed the lineup of the band slightly, and to a lineup which has been the lineup since then. So it's almost been 10 years, the sextet that it is now.
Yeah.
And they're all people that I've met through my studies, whether it's uni or postgrad jazz. And they're all some of my closest friends, and it's just great to have that sort of musical relationship with people that kind of goes back so many years. I mean, one of the guys in the band, James Davison, the trumpet player, I was at junior college with him.
Oh, wow.
When I first met him, I wouldn't even play the bass. I was just a French horn player who sat on the other side of the orchestra with him. Wow. And he's now one of my closest friends, and we've played together so much. We even have a trumpet and bass duo. The pianist, Liam Dunnicky, I was at university with him. We studied music together. When I started at uni, I knew nothing about jazz compared with what I know now, and compared with what he knew then, and I owe him so much. Like when I started playing in groups that involved him, and I felt like I learned so much just from playing around him.
He plays Hammond organ as well, doesn't he?
He plays Hammond organ as well.
Love his Hammond organ.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant.
He's probably up there, isn't he? As one of the best at the moment in the round,
totally.
The scene. Yeah. So then you've got Matthew Hurd and Sam Rapley on both on saxes
both
and
saxophones.
Different thing.
Matthew's been in the group since I started it 12 years ago. Yeah, beautiful alto sax player.
Yeah.
No one like him really.
Yeah.
And Sam Rapley was in the sort of revamped version that started 9 years ago. again we're at academy together, and yeah, just wonderful to get involved in both. And part of the sound of the band is so much that group improv, and the 3 horn players, Jim, Matt, and Sam, getting them to play, getting them improvising together, is just a joy. They just seem to feed off one another as if they're one sort of organism.
And that's lovely that you've got that ongoing relationship, and that they've got an ongoing relationship with your music. The three of them.
But actually, it's kind of recently felt like it's expanded to more players. Like the lineup of the band's now changing quite a lot because of people being busy and various commitments. Sam doesn't live in London anymore. He has a young family and does film composing. Matt has his own career as a band leader and singer-songwriter as well. And Jim has loads of things on. He's an amazing sort of session trumpet player. And every horn chair has at least one really amazing player that's sort of become part of the band almost. Like sometimes to
swaps in. Yeah,
exactly. And that's happened with pretty much everyone in the band as we all get older and we all have other commitments. I'd rather, there's a balance, isn't it? Like if I wanted to make sure I had the same person all the time, then I'm never going to be able to play with anyone who's that. I'm never going to get a really good musician who's always free all the time. Someone that's really good is going to is going to be busy.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I want to have some consistency, so it's about finding a balance.
Yeah. Yeah, and then last person we haven't talked about is Scott.
Scott Chapman, yeah, exactly. He's also been part of the band since I started it 12 years ago. And actually Matt has pretty much stopped doing the band now, so Scott is the sort of last surviving original member. Right. Amazingly versatile drummer who put anything in front of him and he'll just know exactly what I mean straight away. And just amazing to work with, especially in the recording studio. Yeah.
So touring. How's that working out? Have you got a lot coming up?
So I've been trying to. I spent a lot of time last year trying to get a load of gigs with the band around the UK for this year, and weirdly, it's all sort of fallen into place just in the last few weeks, weeks and months actually, because it's June already. But I remember at the start of this year, I was sort of like, I kind of wanted to get like 10 gigs over the year, and I've got like 6, and then by now it's 15. They've all just people have finally replied to emails I said and booked me in. It might be because the album's out now and it's had some nice reviews, so I've had people actually getting back in touch with me like, we do actually want to have you play. Like, are you free on this date in November? Yes, I am. Thanks for asking. I'm in the middle of they kind of pick up a bit more later on in the year. At the moment it's like 1 gig a month.
Right.
But they pick up to sort of 2 or 3 gigs come September.
Yeah.
And it's just great to have an opportunity to play in loads of different parts of the country, different types of venues as well. Some real established jazz venues, some are more sort of venues that typically do classical music, and we might view this as sort of token non-classical group.
Yeah.
And it's a case of catering the set list to suit the venue really. And we have so much repertoire now because I've released 4 albums. So there are tunes that we don't play anymore, but even with all that culling, we could easily do like at least 2 full gigs of completely different repertoire if we wanted.
Right, and presumably, I mean, given the strictness of having a small baby, you're still sort of thinking about composing new pieces. So,
Yeah, it feels like that's changed. I've hardly written anything so far this year. I did have one morning when I just suddenly felt really inspired. It was a really beautiful moment where I woke up and both my wife and baby was just asleep next to each other in our bed. And I just felt so moved by this. I just had this melody come to me and just ran downstairs, put the headphones on, the silent piano. It's like an 8-bar melody I wrote. I apart from that, I've not written notes since the autumn.
No.
I tend to go in phases of churning out a lot of music over a period of a few months, and then many months pass and don't write anything.
Right.
And right now, priorities are doing the gigs that I've committed to for this period, looking after all being at home and organising things that need organising at the moment. So I have enough going on right now.
I'm sure.
And but I do have, for example, 2 really big commissions that I have to be getting on with towards the end of this year. So around then I'm going to be writing a lot of music, and I've no doubt some other things will come out around that time that I might end up bringing to my band or bringing into another project. Like I said, it sort of goes in phases.
Sure.
But I also don't. I really made sure last year. So we recorded the album in February of last year. Last year, my band hardly played, and I specifically wanted to do that because I fell into a bit of a trap with previous albums of playing the music so much. So the good thing about playing the music loads before you record it is that with the recording it's going to be really good and the music's going to be really played in. The downside is that it means that by the time you come round to releasing the album, you've done it all and it's bored. You're boring, and just want to move on. So I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I feel like I'm just really enjoying getting to play that music.
And it's nice to have that body of 4 albums worth of music that you can dip in and out of, and you can go, we haven't played that one for a couple of months, so let's go back and do that one. We don't have to do everything off the new album and then.
Exactly. And I'm really organised with like keeping a record of what tunes I've played on each gig. It's quite a sight actually for 12 years worth.
I can imagine.
And like which musicians were on which gig. So whenever we have a gig coming up, I will always make sure. Okay, well, firstly, who's on this gig? What have they played? What have they not played?
Yeah.
And obviously, it's fine to introduce things that haven't been played to someone that hasn't played them yet.
Yeah.
But I just want to be aware of that and not do it too much.
Yeah. Some familiarity is good, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Misha. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you.
Yeah, thanks
and
so much.
I'll put all the links in the show notes so that people can follow you and work out where they can see you. I don't often use the word sumptuous, but I'm going to use it now of Red Earth, which is what you're listening to now, taken from Misha Mullov-Abbado's album, Effra. I really enjoyed that conversation. Look out for more coming from Misha Mullov-Abbado. Look out for that name. And I hope you enjoy listening to a little bit more of Red Earth from Effra. Please do follow the links in the show notes to find out where you can hear him play live. It'd be a great help if you could rate, review, share this podcast just to get more people knowing about it. The numbers are gradually climbing, which is fantastic. But I just want more people to be able to discover exciting new music like this. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.